Have you heard about the new #1 way to do Facebook ads targeting? Pretty crazy, but I'll tell you right now in the beginning of this video so you can get the value right away, and if you want to click off, go for it. Don't target anybody. Yeah, that's right, keep it completely broad. Not adding any lookalike audiences, any interest, no demographic targeting, no age groups, no custom audiences, none of the things that you've probably been told to do from a targeting perspective already. The reason you would do this, and the reason it's really taking the advertising space by storm right now, is because it's betting on the AI and the algorithm as it's really advancing so fast right now. And this isn't really just for Facebook. This is on Google as well with Performance Max. If you watch the trends between a lot of these advertising platforms, you'll see that a lot of them are moving towards more of an AI-based system where you really just have to feed it your assets and headlines, and it's automatically going to go out and find your target audience. Bringing it back to Meta and the advertising on Facebook or Meta, whatever you want to call it, is letting it go out and find your audience. So when you set up broad targeting without doing any additional targeting, no interest groups, no custom audiences, no lookalike audiences, nothing. Once you leave that completely blank, what you're essentially saying to Facebook is, hey, go out and find my ideal audience and bring them back to me. So when you do that, though, it's crucial to make sure that you're creative and your messaging for your brand is on point. Because either way, it doesn't matter if it's broad targeting, if you're betting on the AI, you still have to find the right audience, and the right people will come in. And so for that to happen, they have to feel that the messaging, makes sense for them, and that what is being portrayed to them in the creative speaks to them. So I think when you do broad, it's even more important that your creative speaks to users, because it'll help train the algorithm faster. So with that being said, there's a couple things to think about. So when do you use broad targeting? Does this make sense for every ad account? Does this make sense for every brand? Should everybody be doing this? And the answer in like anything, especially in marketing, is always, well, it depends. And so if you're a small business, the reason you would want to use this is you don't maybe, and if you haven't run ads before, you don't have to go out and know exactly who your target audience is. Now, it's important before you run ads to have an idea of who you're trying to reach and how you're trying to speak to them. But if you don't really know how to set up ads, you can leave it broad and let it run, and it'll go out and find the people for you. On the flip side, if you have an ad account, for example, one of my clients sells a technology product, but they've been around for years. They've had hundreds of thousands of visitors in the last 30 days. So their pixel's really seasoned. So I didn't have to do a ton of detailed targeting. I was able to use broad targeting and lookalike audiences to continue to find users that we knew were already interested in the brand. So you can use broad targeting to continue to let it go, let it find your ideal users. But then for smaller brands, it also gives it the ability to initially find people that would be interested. So it's a quick and easy way to get set up, but for bigger brands too, it depends on really the size of your brand. I'm going to go through some of the reasons that I think broad is good, and then I'm going to go through some of the reasons it might not be good. There's no prior research needed to launch this campaign and target your audience. It will just do it for you. It can be a shortcut to sales in one day. Another big benefit to this is it can expand your usual customer demographic. So if you think your customer demographic, for example, is 25 to 35, you may find that it'll go out and find people in the 55 plus range that are also interested in your product or service. And this one kind of goes hand in hand a little bit. You may see a lower cost for CPA because it has such a broad reach that it can go out and just find a lot of potential customers or users to interact or be a lead or whatever the conversion event is, but also that it is a pretty cost-effective way to do testing. You don't have to have a huge testing plan ready to go if you're doing broad targeting. So now we're going to flip it to why broad targeting could be bad. In my experience, I have seen we had a $2,000 a day budget going, and after 3 days, we noticed that over 95% of the budget was all allocated towards the broad targeting group or targeting ad sets. So we had 5 ad sets, and one of the ad sets was a MacBook, the other one was a laptop, another one was a lookalike audience, and then one of the other ad sets was broad. And we noticed that the targeting and the ad spend got really forced towards broad. And so that's one of the things that to pay attention to. And so when you do that, I really recommend doing it with an ad set level budget, so you can really control and identify if it's working or not for you. Second one is there's no potential in finding the gold mine. And what I mean by that is, when you're doing interest targeting and you're able to identify, hey, maybe this one isn't working and this one isn't working, but this one is, and this one is the most cost effective in terms of interest targeting or lookalikes, you have some concrete data to work from and to continue to build your ads off of. Versus with broad targeting, you don't really know exactly what worked, but you know that it just turned it on and it worked. And that's fine, as long as you can keep it going and keep it running, and you're identifying which creatives work the best in broad targeting, like you should any of the interest targeting groups that you would set up. But it's important to make sure that you're identifying what's working as well in the broad targeting ad set group as well. So overall, what is my review on broad testing, and do I use it a lot? Would I continue to use it? Well, I think I kind of said it already. I do use it, depending on the client, depending on the industry and things like that, but I always think it's worth testing. I've seen a lot of success with it. I've seen a lot of terrible experiences with it as well. So just like anything, you test the creative, you test the targeting, you test the demographics, any of those things. So I encourage you to introduce it into your marketing strategy. It's also a really great fallback if everything else you've been doing isn't working. You can turn it on, and it has the ability to go out and find a lot of the data that you already know is out there, or a lot of the people, I should say, that are already out there. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind. And really, broad targeting is a solution to someone not being familiar with the Facebook or Meta Ads Manager. And so I would encourage you to learn more about the Ads Manager if you're gonna start launching ads before you just use broad, because it's just not a long-term solution. The long-term solution is to really, like I said earlier in the video, to find your gold mine targeting. Make sure you're going out there and you're finding your ideal winners, your ideal winning creative, your ideal winning or targeting options. And the other thing that I always say is keep in mind that Facebook, Meta, is to generate sales for you. And so they believe now that using their AI system, using their broad targeting is the best way to do that. But they're also a business, so they want you to spend more money on their platform. So keep that in mind as you continue to really just any advertising platform, not just them, Amazon, whatever it is. But they do want to, they know they need to keep people on the platform and using it. So they do try and create the most optimal experience for advertisers and users as well. And lastly, Facebook's changing every day. Their platform continues to change. It changed like 48 hours ago when I was just looking at it, some of the targeting options that were available. So you have to just continue to stay on top of it, honestly, as well as be flexible. You just need to be able to add more tools to your belt when it comes to understanding targeting and understanding how it gets set up. And I think right now, a lot of this is starting to move towards AI automation and AI systems being able to use it. While they still let you continue to have some control over it, it is becoming a little bit more limited, in my opinion. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks for watching.